Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a quiet giant in Major League Baseball, San Francisco Giants pitcher Sean Hjelle. For years, this guy was known for a totally scandal-free career, like no headlines, just baseball. Pretty straightforward. But then, well, everything changed. Completely flipped. His wife, Caroline Hjelle, she went viral on TikTok. And not just viral, but with a story so dark, so explosive, it's now shaking Major League Baseball right to its core. We're talking really shocking accusations here. Secret affairs, claims of emotional abuse, and maybe the most devastating claim, abandoning his own children. So right now, Sean Hjelle is under official investigation by MLB. And he has just vanished. Disappeared from the spotlight without a single word. Nothing. Our mission today is to really try and unravel what happened behind those closed doors and explore the maybe surprising facts emerging from the sources we looked at. It seems like the truth here is nothing like anyone expected.
Yeah, what's fascinating here, truly fascinating, and what really jumps out from the sources is how this whole thing kicked off. It wasn't, a traditional news scoop. It started with a short video clip, barely a minute long, on TikTok.
It's TikTok. Incredible.
It really just highlights the sheer power of a single voice today in the digital age. Caroline Hjelle wasn't just venting frustrations online. No, she was actively exposing details, specific details. And that almost instantly took what could have been a private issue and just blew it up into this huge national conversation. So in this deep dive, we're going to get into her specific claims, look at the official response or lack thereof initially from MLB. We'll explore Sean's, frankly, surprising silence and discuss the pretty profound implications this could have for his career, his reputation, everything. And for you, our listener, it's really a stark look at how fast information can completely reshape public perception. And, what happens when private lives suddenly become very, very public.
So the core of this, it really came directly from Caroline's viral TikTok message, right? She laid out these accusations of multiple affairs, emotional manipulation, and she described a man who, according to her, didn't just break his marriage vows, he basically shattered a family.
Yeah.
She painted this picture of Sean living this complete double life. So to the world, he's the humble, hardworking pitcher, that image we all sort of knew. But behind closed doors, she claims he was someone totally different, someone who gaslit her, left her feeling isolated, and apparently repeatedly betrayed her trust.
And crucially, as you said, she wasn't just making these vague claims. That's key here.
Exactly. That's what stood out. We often see vague stuff online. But this felt different. What the sources really emphasize and what makes Caroline's claims stand out is her meticulous detail. She provided specific, sort of corroborating details, dates, places, even alleged messages from the other women involved.
Yes.
So what's the real impact of that level of specificity in a situation like this? Does it change the game?
Oh, absolutely. That precision is critical. It totally changes the dynamic. It moves it beyond a simple he said, she said situation. When Caroline includes things like dates, specific locations, alleged messages, it's almost like she's providing digital receipts.
Receipts, yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Right. It makes it incredibly difficult for Sean or for the Giants or even MLB to just brush it off. They can't easily dismiss her claims as just, angry venting or baseless accusations. That level of detail, it shifts the whole narrative. It goes from maybe a private marital dispute to a very public demand for accountability. It almost forces an official response because the evidence she presented or claimed to present feels so substantial.
Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting and honestly quite devastating. As we were digging into the sources, this detail emerged that just shifts the whole story again into, frankly, darker territory. Caroline's claim that Sean didn't just leave her. She alleges he also walked away from their children, without warning, without even a goodbye, leaving her, as she put it in her post, to pick up the pieces alone.
Wow.
Is that claim about the children what truly escalated this? Was that the trigger for MLB's immediate formal investigation?
Absolutely. That is the game changer. No question. Look, marital infidelity is deeply personal, often messy, but usually handled differently. But claims of child abandonment, that triggers a much, much more severe response, especially from an organization like MLB.
Right, because of their policies.
Exactly. It directly involves their very strict domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse policy. It immediately elevates the situation. It becomes one of the most serious inquiries a player can possibly face. It's far beyond what even multiple confirmed affairs might trigger on their own. This hits a different level of seriousness for the league.
And following Caroline's claims, there was this initial, shocking silence, really, from Sean himself, from the Giants, from Major League Baseball initially, a vacuum.
Yeah, it was noticeable.
But that silence, it didn't last long, as you mentioned. MLB launched that formal investigation under their very serious policy. But here's the stark contrast that's playing out. While Caroline keeps posting, sharing updates, speaking out,
She's very active, yes.
Sean has remained completely silent, utterly silent. No public response, no statement, just nothing. So in this world where, public figures, celebrities, athletes usually rush to defend themselves, issue denials, what do you think that absolute lack of response actually communicates? Both legally, perhaps, and definitely to the court of public opinion.
It's truly the elephant in the room, isn't it? The silence. Okay, so on one hand, you could argue his legal counsel probably advised silence. That's standard practice, don't say anything that could potentially be used against you in an active investigation. Makes sense.
Standard legal playbook, yeah.
Exactly. However, in the court of public opinion, which moves much faster and operates differently, a complete vacuum of denial, when there are such detailed, specific accusations, it speaks volumes.
It feels loud, that silence.
It does. When there's no counter-narrative, no pushback, not even an attempt to clarify or deny anything, that non-response can easily be perceived as, well, maybe an admission. Or at the very least, it suggests a lack of a strong defense. It essentially allows Caroline's narrative to completely fill the space, totally unchallenged.
And the baseball community, as you can imagine, has been just stunned by all this.
Yeah.
Absolutely floored. And fans, well, they're clearly divided. You see it online everywhere.
Very divided.
There are some who just refuse to believe it. They're fiercely defending Sean, pointing back to that quiet giant image he cultivated.
Clinging to that.
But then on the other side, you have many people saying, look, the level of detail in Caroline's claims, and combined with that stark silence from Sean, it's just too precise, too compelling to simply ignore.
Right.
And then you have another group, people who say they've seen similar scenarios play out before, who say her story feels disturbingly familiar, especially in the world of professional sports. So this isn't just about a crumbling marriage anymore, is it? Far from it.
Not at all.
It's about a man whose entire professional career could now be hanging by a thread. Seriously threatened.
Very much so.
I mean, if the MLB investigation confirmed even a fraction of what Caroline is claiming, Sean Hjelle could face a significant suspension. Or maybe even worse.
The consequences are severe under that policy.
Yeah. His future with the Giants, it's already looking incredibly uncertain. And even though the team itself is remaining, tight-lipped officially, the pressure on them, on the organization, to address this somehow, it just continues to grow every single day this drags on.
And that social media buzz, it hasn't died down at all. If anything, it's intensified. Every new video, every new post from Caroline seems to bring this fresh wave of outrage, but also a lot of support for her.
Yeah, you see both sides reacting strongly.
Exactly. In Caroline's stated motivation, she's been very clear about this. She says she's done being quiet. Done protecting someone who, in her words, never protected her or their kids.
That's a powerful statement.
It is, and she frames it as speaking not just for herself, but almost as a voice for, every person who's been made to feel invisible or unheard inside their own home, in their own relationship. So if we kind of connect this to the bigger picture, it really highlights how a single voice, especially one armed with specific details and amplified massively by social media, can create this incredibly powerful narrative that can just completely overshadow traditional PR efforts or even official statements. Or silence.
Right, the silence again.
And that absolute lack of denial from Sean, it just continues to be the most, maybe, chilling detail in all of this. So while, yes, the MLB's investigation is ongoing and we have to wait for its official findings, let's be real. In the court of public opinion, judgment is already well underway.
It feels that way.
Caroline's words, her story, they've echoed right across the country. And right now, that echo is basically filling the silence left by Sean.
So where does this leave us? What does this all mean? For Sean Hjelle, for the Giants, for this wider conversation, this is clearly, as we've said, not just some family drama playing out anymore.
No.
It's really blown up into a national conversation about betrayal, about serious allegations of abuse, and about the maybe very different faces people might hide when the cameras aren't rolling.
Yeah, the public versus private persona.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So all eyes are squarely on Sean Hjelle right now. Will he finally speak? Will some kind of counter-narrative emerge? Or will this silence just continue while his career potentially unravels?
Big questions.
Huge questions. But one thing seems absolutely certain, based on everything we've looked at. This story is far from over, not by a long shot. And what comes next could genuinely change everything. For Sean Hjelle, and definitely for the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, and as you've listen to this deep dive today, maybe just consider the profound power a single voice can have in our digital age. The power to not just challenge, but maybe completely redefine established narratives, established images. And perhaps also think about what it truly signifies when silence, especially in the face of such detailed public accusations, becomes the most deafening sound of all.